Alright. Welcome back to our weekly live streamed Shadowrun 5th Edition Adventures. Stream our sessions live on Twitch beginning at 9:30 p.m. Central Time every Sunday evening. Afterwards, you can find it uploaded to my YouTube page as well as a written write-up on my blog, both of which you can find links to here on my profile on Twitch. I'm Eric Watson, your Game Master, and this is my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/gorbash722. You can also follow me on Twitter at Rogue Watson. Joining me, as always, you guys can unmute yourselves now. Our regular cast of Shadowrunners. Let's take off the music. Mr. Chris playing Ursa the Troll Shaman.
Hello.
Heather playing Mauta the Human Street Samurai.
Hello.
Reese playing Falkirk the Elf Adept.
Hello.
And MIA today is Raymond playing Saren the Human Decker. He will hopefully join us soon. Feel free to talk shit about him since he is not here.
He is a poop bed.
Doing doctor things, no doubt. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net. For video sharing, we use Google Hangouts. And for broadcasting and streaming, I use Open Broadcaster software. And most of the music that I use is from Perturbator. So this episode is going to be a little different. This is our epilogue and recap session, which means we actually completed our previous adventure, our very first adventure, last week. And this week we are going to just kind of go through and recap the whole mission and give you guys a chance to give feedback on kind of what worked, what didn't work, any kind of questions or concerns or complaints you had regarding how I ran things or how Shadowrun works. And also it's a chance for me to learn, obviously, what you guys liked, what you guys didn't, and how I can improve. And all that, just kind of a nice little back and forth. And I figured we can turn that into an actual weekly thing at the end of each adventure, which also gives me another week between adventures, so I have more time to work on the next adventure, which is also crucial. So this will be our epilogue and recap episode to Not With a Whimper, which was our first adventure. So, first thing we did, and I'll just kind of move you guys along the scenes I've got set up. We didn't even have a call from anybody because you guys didn't even know each other, and we met at a bar known as Red's Bar, which is a kind of nice little organization where you guys all just coincidentally showed up trying to look for some work. You'd heard this was maybe a location that you could meet some contacts to get work as a possible Shadowrunner, or at least some kind of illicit, I don't know, escort, not escort person, that doesn't sound right, like, you know, shipping and all that good stuff. Illegal activity, I think, is what I meant to say. And then...
I'm pretty sure escorts are illegal too.
Yeah, that's probably not so much what you guys do. So, before you guys could even do anything, an explosion went off.
And you nearly killed us all.
Yeah, and things started off with a bit of a bang here, as about half the bar came down around you.
That part was pretty cool. It's like, yep, just go into a regular looking bar. Oh, by the way, it's all gonna blow up, so hopefully you're not near the blast range.
Yeah, so I had nothing planned socially or anything else for the beginning. It was just this bomb was going to go off, so I didn't really let you guys do too much initially. I was just going to let you do one thing to kind of set up what your character was doing at the time of the blast. And then that blast was going to go off and then kind of obviously force the story along from there.
Yeah, it's a good way, that was a good way to start it off. I think. Very exciting way to start it.
Yeah. It was kind of tricky to figure out how much damage to do to you guys, because the actual explosion rules are pretty devastating for obviously having half the bar come out. I was like, I can't actually do this, so I'm going to pretend like I'll use like an average gunshot wound for damage done.
Yeah, applied evenly to everyone instead of just Falkirk and...
Right.
Exactly, yeah, and obviously I wasn't going to penalize anybody for being in weird spots, because none of y'all know what was going to happen, so that definitely, yeah, from the outset, no matter where you guys were going to go, I was going to have that just be the same across the board. some reason, y'all's both webcams have frozen for me. It's unfortunate.
Oh, really?
Not mine.
Yeah, it looks
They're
fine
not
for me.
frozen for me.
Really?
Yep.
I think I might be switching scenes so much, it's freaking out on me.
Oh.
Don't worry, I'll tell you if the internet goes down.
Yeah. I can still see yours working. Hopefully it'll come back. Maybe I have to shut Roll20 down. Let's try doing that. I don't really need the visual aid, it's just for everybody to do. So yeah, so a bomb went off, and you guys had to help some survivors and kind of get a chance to, I guess, role play a little bit what you were gonna do.
Steal from the bodies.
Alright, it's starting to come back now. Yeah, anywhere from looting to actually healing people.
Yeah, which I think most of us were at least semi-heroic in our activities.
Yeah, I ended up actually rewarding you guys for helping people, so that was good. And then afterwards, I was kind of still railroading how the adventure was heading and having you guys rescue an important NPC that I had set up, which you guys snapped right to it, which was cool. Helped with
At that point, I was like, surely this is the person that's supposed to do this mission. So,
Yeah.
whatever.
I do remember when we first walked into the bar, there were like a dozen icons in there, like of people. And then you did the explosion, and then there were like 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. None of
Yeah.
those were important.
Exactly.
Cheers.
I literally just put a bunch of random tokens in there just to make it look like it was half full of people. I'm like, none of these people are going to be doing or saying anything.
They were only there for the burgers.
So you guys rescued Red, and then his Doc Wagon contract went off, which had a medic ambulance show up, which is kind of an opportunity for us to learn how the whole Doc Wagon system works in Shadowrun, the whole medical system, I guess, which is very privatized. And also can be very useful for people that have the money, because they can go into like any area. It's almost like a video game thing. It's like you can buy this contract, and this magical people will just show up and like revive you and like take you to the hospital so you can respawn almost.
Right.
Like
So,
built into the world.
with the Doc Wagon people, I will bring up one. This isn't a problem. This isn't your problem, Eric, at all. It's a problem with the universe in general. Is that we don't know anything about it. So I don't know. From a cultural standpoint, in this universe, would it have seemed odd to us that Doc Wagon folks would show up in full gas masks and armor like they showed up? Because after the fact, I was like, should we have known that those guys weren't normal?
That's something you
I
could,
don't know.
Yeah, that's something you would ask me, and I could give you that. Because a lot of times, if I think of it, I will give you guys, like, so you guys would know this. Like, I'll give you that information.
That's really the only solution.
If it's common Shadowrun stuff. That's true. I didn't think about that. I would say at the time, I would say at the time you wouldn't have thought it would have been too weird, because you were kind of in a, not like a war zone, but like a hazardous,
Right, yeah, exactly.
middle of a bombing.
That's exactly
so
how I took it. Kind of like a hazmat sort of situation.
I think I did mention later on when they were in you guys were in the actual vehicle, that the fact that he was wearing the gas mask was strange.
Right.
The fact that he was still wearing it.
Yeah. Which, yeah, exactly. Which is when I think is when all of us caught on to what was going on. Because I at least was like, yeah, these guys are the paramedics. No problem. I thought we were going to go to the hospital and talk to Red at the hospital, and it was going to be all good.
Yeah. So after that twist, I threw the other twist of the fake Doc Wagon medics. How'd you guys feel about that whole situation and encounter?
I got a question for you. Could Red have died there? Because I feel like you were setting Red up as an important character, but it certainly looked like they were about to murder him. So now I'm curious, like, could there have been a scenario where Red died there?
I'm trying to think if this would give away information.
I mean, we don't know what was in the needle still.
That's true. Since you don't know that, I won't tell you that information.
Okay. I'm just from a narrative point of view, I can't imagine him dying now.
Right.
But
I had there. Yeah. I mean, I always try to have contingencies in place, but and that's another comment I'll make is for the most part, you guys actually followed along very well. I mean, that was something that I had tried to prepare myself for. Is like all these other scenarios that could have happened, but for the most part, in terms of you following the adventure, you guys absolutely followed it to where I had an answer to most situations and things that came up. I thought. So nothing too off the rails, but yeah.
Right. I'm just thinking about what would have happened, like how funny it would have been if, like, that whole scenario had gone down and like we had held Red down so he could put the needle in him. Like hold still, Red. He needs to help you.
Yeah.
We held him down.
Yeah, things take a definite turn, and that's partly why I can't really even write the next adventure until I'm at least like halfway through the current one, because like I have to know like the decisions you guys make and like the factions you align with and all these. So it's like I can't even write like a full campaign now because I don't even know I try to create like these branching paths and choices you can make. There's obviously big ones and there's small ones, like the fact that you guys got past that one Halloweener encounter without even fighting them. That one didn't really matter when. Go ahead.
That I mean, I felt like that needle wasn't supposed to go in him, so.
Yeah.
Right. Narratively, it felt like that we were supposed to stop that from happening.
Yeah. That was in Red's best interest to not be stabbed with that thing. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys like automatically felt like protective and helpful towards him because that worked. That kept you on like the A path of the adventure. Didn't have to start. Yeah, it was like the primary path. Start deviating from there too much. So yeah, I think that was our first real combat encounter. Was inside the confined, which I didn't even build up. Yeah,
I thought that was really entertaining to have us all like not being able to maneuver at all, and it just.
You know, and thinking about it now, I wish I would have built a grid, because now if we're ever going to have combat, I feel like I really do need to have some kind of grid layout just to help it.
But because otherwise you did spend a lot of time describing
like who was where and who could move through what. Yeah, and I feel like that could have been assuaged somewhat by having a little grid system there. But luckily, since it was so small and since there was not a whole lot going on, I don't think it was too much of a mess. And then you guys were able to take down the vehicle pretty much without any problems. And believe me, I had contingencies for crashing the vehicle and all kinds of crazy shit could have happened.
It felt like you wanted to at the time. It felt like you wanted to do something bad in the vehicle. Because Raymond kept trying to pull it over, and you were like, I don't know if you can do that.
I'm still not actually sure. Like, the lines between a decker and a rigger are very blurry when it comes down to like the Matrix. The decker can technically like hack in and do a control action thing, but then it's like, well, what's like the rigger doing, and like that kind of.
Right.
The lines are very strangely blurred there.
I think, as far as my understanding, is that a decker would be able to hack into the vehicle and access it or whatever. He just couldn't.
But not like drive it
as if it was through his eyes, like a rigger can.
I think he
can possess.
Right. So I think he would have been able to maybe just turn on the vehicle's pilot program or something. Mm-hmm. But then since the dude was driving, well, I don't know. Hopefully we handled it decently well. Like I figured, like
he can shut it off. Yeah,
he can shut it off.
Shut it off. Right.
And you guys had took the medic guy down as well. So well, no, that was that guy was not taken down hard. He was actually just captured without much effort.
Oh, the pilot, the driver, I mean?
Yeah, the driver, yeah.
Yeah.
And this turned into a much more deadly encounter. Like, I did arm the one guy with a shotgun, but, man, the combat took a bit longer than I anticipated, too, with this scenario. I was like, there's only really 2 guys involved in this fight, and, man, they are...
Yeah, I think all that's just us learning a new system.
Yeah, that's true, too.
We were trying really hard to be as non-lethal as possible in the beginning,
I was surprised at that. You guys were way less aggressive and way more like
trying to talk to people.
Leniency, and like trying to talk everything down throughout the whole adventure. I was very surprised that's how you guys handled this. I thought I would have to be like, I thought you guys were murdering everything and me have to be like, you guys can talk to the and you guys were the opposite. Like,
I think just having those social skills
Makes you want to use them.
yeah, I
Yeah.
have skills. I want to use them.
Mhm.
Where before, like in any game, except for Arcanum, I think I've always had just straight murder skill. So
Yeah.
I want to use straight murder skill because that's
Yeah.
what I'm good at.
and that's partly the advantage of
It's all I know how to do.
a role playing system is you can just ask like, hey, I just want to talk to this guy. Like, okay, whereas a video game, if you're scripted to fight somebody, you're going to fight him. Like, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah.
In Shadowrun, like I said, you guys are 90% of the time fighting against people, and a lot of times people will talk to you and try to like work something out.
Yeah.
Most people aren't like psychopaths that fight to the death. Some are, but
Yeah. I mean, I think that the hot soup or hot food scenario, that practice one we had,
yeah,
I think helped out a lot with just letting me realize that
how that one
it's
ended.
not the same
Yeah.
old, and we need to get
Right.
information, we need to talk to people. We don't have to.
It's not just a room full of guys to murder. It's,
Yeah.
Technically,
we get badasses in the room.
yeah.
technically, you guys could have made it through the entire adventure without firing a shot. Although it would have been extremely difficult.
Yeah.
But technically, I wrote it that way. Like there is no forced
What could we have
encounter.
done with the medic guys?
You would basically had to have let them like stab red. I mean, and just go through with it,
Oh wow.
and just basically like watch things unfold longer. And yeah,
Yeah.
So, if we had done that, what would have happened?
I can't. I don't, that gets into
That's
into
the
some
line.
future spoiler stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a completely divergent from.
It does.
We'll
It seems
table
like- yeah.
we'll table that.
Okay. For the next time.
Yeah.
I still
Um,
want that needle.
Hmm?
oh,
I still
yeah.
wanted that needle.
Yeah, so I try to layer in some clues, and we'll get to that when we get to the future scenes. But I did try to layer in some clues and stuff because I think the investigation part is a neat, like, scene type for Shadowrun, and it gives you a chance to use a lot of like cool skills and role playing opportunities. But before we did that, we hit the Halloweener encounter, which was really just a straight up random encounter for me that I just kind of put in there.
So the entire time you're just setting up this scene and everything, I was just thinking in my head, all right, let's just roll for negotiation. See if I can get out of this by talking, just
Yeah.
because I've never done that before.
And I had that as a possibility, but I knew you guys were going to have to give up that vehicle, and I didn't think you'd do it. And you guys jumped all over it. So I was like, all right, I'll let you do that.
Yeah. How much was that vehicle worth?
Oh, 40 or 50,000.
Yeah.
That was a nice.
So that may be us being naive to the realities of this world.
Yeah.
Once we-
You didn't know
once
you
we
could have
fully
kept it or
understand
something.
what money
Well, I
is
tried
worth,
to get- I
like,
tried to
what
get-
thing-
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, once we understand like how much things cost, maybe that $40,000 to $50,000 will mean more to us. Later.
Yeah. I did try to get Red to say something as you guys were talking to him, like, if you can,
Yeah.
the car's pretty nice, but you think you can take them? Like, that's like literally the GM saying stuff to you. But
This scenario, I'll tell you, a couple scenarios tested my role-playing abilities because this character I'm playing,
you really
goddamn
wanted.
it goes against every natural instinct in my body.
That's what he was telling me, like, after we finished one week, he was like, oh my god, I can't believe Chris is playing this, like, nice person.
That is so not
Yeah,
him.
I don't care for that at all.
it's weird. It's difficult. Yeah. 'Cause I keep wanting to. I keep wanting to try to like con people or steal things or try to,
Break
you
the
know.
game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like, like the same thing, I'm going through the same thing with mine. It's like, alright, how much one way do I want to go, but still, like, look this other way? And yeah, it's a very hard balance.
Yeah.
Because my character has a really interesting backstory.
That you
But I'm
wanna
sure
go
he
into?
will find I'm sure he will find a way to, like, use it.
Yeah, the more background information you guys can give me in terms of who you know and where you came from, the more I can try to put that into future adventure, if you want me to.
Because I'm just not sure how mine that we worked out play into some of the stuff we've already done or what's going to happen in the future.
It definitely can.
Yeah, I think Heather and I are in the same boat where we've discussed our backstories with Eric, but not with
not
anybody
everybody
else.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing I didn't know how to force you guys on, or engineers, how to get you guys to talk to each other and reveal stuff. And I just kind of left it up to you. I think at one point you guys were on your way to something. I was like, hey, if you want to chat with each other, like.
Right. Which is good.
It's still the same thing. Like, well, how much do we want to?
Which, yeah, it's
like,
totally up to you.
Because, like, different things, like, depending on if you've chosen negative qualities, could come into play.
Yeah, it's up to you guys how much you guys are not omniscient with each other.
Right.
I assume by the end of this adventure, you guys are now friendly enough and trust each other. But yeah, you guys can definitely have your own personal backstories and however much you want to reveal to that effect. So yeah, this was just going to be a random.
That is to say, I really wanted the car.
Yeah, and I was willing to let you guys essentially, because I knew that was something that you guys didn't have, were like a whole lot of vehicles and stuff. Which you ended up having a different car later, because that's the big one we'll talk about as the finale. That went in some interesting places, but so this one you traded the car for, you basically traded the car for the combat encounter, which I totally let you guys do that because succeeded on those rolls, and that was the plan. Was they just wanted that vehicle mostly. And then you left. You did take the driver. Red took him, and then Red finally at this point offers you the actual mission, which at that point I knew you were about halfway through the mission, although you've just technically gotten the actual mission, but I knew it was not going to have a whole lot of like in between. It was like investigation and then the scene. So I knew it was going to be that part of it was going to be shorter, so that's kind of how I built it, was more like an exciting lead-in to the actual mission thing, and then that be a fairly straightforward mission from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gives you the job. You go back to the bar, which was helpful for me because I was able to completely reuse a scene. And then we investigated.
Can I demand all new scenes?
All new scenes. It's like a TV show. I have to reuse sets. It's how I cut down on my overhead costs. I mean, there was a lot going on in this scene. This took me quite a bit of time to build.
I'm sure. Looks very complicated.
The street one was actually not hard at all. I literally almost found that entire map and just pasted that on there. This one has a whole lot of shit on it. So this was built very much like an investigation scene, which I thought was an interesting thing that Shadowrun does, and is a big part of its missions. Is a lot of times you just have to investigate and use a lot of your skills and your role playing to figure out, find clues, and then trace things back. We did have to go over things like how to use contacts and like the matrix, because again, that's information I didn't think you guys would automatically know, but I did feel like your characters would know. For example, how to like just look things up on the matrix.
Like Google things.
Yeah, like anybody can basically just Google shit essentially to find out that information. So that's why I was pretty quick to hand that over. That, and I had a few things set up for clues, but I wasn't going to be like a real dick about handing out information. Like, obviously, I wanted you guys to hit that last point, so you guys followed.
So if we ever, yeah. The character I was almost going to be, this scene would have been like his forte. The character besides this guy I'm playing that I really wanted to be was a private detective character. And it was all just a little bit of social, but mostly like knowledge and like this kind of like just knowing things and looking things up and whatever. And during the scene, I was sad that I wasn't him.
Instead, your guy was like watching outside or something.
Yeah, I do. And it turned out there was no combat. There was nothing to watch here, so
Yeah.
I just sat in the corner.
I wanted to warn you guys that the possibility that there might be combat here, like Red warns you guys. So I always like to have that little present of danger. Plus, this seemed like a dangerous location. But after you guys had all been through that, I never thought I was going to actually stick yet another combat encounter in here. I didn't think every single scene needs to have combat in it. So this was just a pure investigation scene. You guys were able to follow the clues for the most part. I think there was one clue you didn't find, which was like, I forgot how I was gonna have you find it, but there was like a little mini spy drone like under rubble that you could have found, and that would have basically given you the same information as the car in terms of like it would point you to
Where it came from.
yeah, it would just have the same like matrix icon on it and stuff. If I understand how all that stuff works.
Roll of perception, or
Maybe.
could we have just,
Or
like
like-
walked around and was like, I want to lift up this rubble?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a combination of that. Like you were like sifting through the rubble trying to find something, and it was just kind of my backup plan too. If you guys were just kind of lost trying to figure out something, you know, I had a lot of like backups in case something wasn't working. Then I had another plan in place. And I mean, even with all my plans, like you guys were still able to do things that I had to like come up with shit on the fly about. So, especially whenever Raven starts hacking into things, he just starts thinking of things that I didn't think about. I'm like, oh crap.
He just wants to do crazy things that I don't know if are possible in the game.
Right. Which I'd rather have the decker do that and me limit it rather than the decker not know what to do and me have to suggest it. Like, I'm
Right.
glad he does
Yeah.
it that way. I think he makes the good decker from there.
Until he starts trying to shoot people in the kneecaps.
In the kneecaps. Yeah, so he turns out to be the aggressive one. Gonna watch himself.
That was great.
Is there a negative quality that involves you being like a bit of a sociopath? Because
Right.
you might be in danger of winning that award. So our trail of clues led us to our finale, which was another scene that I built up from scratch. JT's Automotive.
So I do feel like there was a lot of potential in this scene that we probably didn't take advantage of.
Yeah.
So I wanted to build like a very much a video game, almost like a level of Dishonored or something, where it was like, here's the level, here's the layout, you guys can
Right.
choose how you want to
How to
approach
get
it.
in.
Yeah, there's different
Yeah.
entrances, there's different tactics involved, and I had different like rules set up for various ways you could have approached and all that kind of thing. And I really wanted to leave it like, here's an area, and then you guys can choose how you want to go about it. With stealth being the goal, I guess. It didn't
Unless he opens the front door and just falls on his face.
goes through the front door. Yeah. So tell me about it from your end, because I'd love to hear what you guys thought from, especially
That
from
was
not
going to be my shining moment.
especially from not being able to see the map, and like how did you guys decide? Because you guys pretty much almost right away decided on the front door.
I forgot what my primary thing was going to be, and that was my clairvoyance. I just totally forgot to even mention it. And it would have come in handy.
So it's not like a Nightcrawler thing. You can just project it like in a place you don't even know about, and just try
Yeah,
to see.
it's
Okay.
a radius around you, based on the spell power. And it's like having an astral form at that point. You just sort of can move the point around.
Can video cameras see that?
No.
Okay.
The way they described it in the spell was not even like you're not even an astral form. It's just you were literally just like perceiving the world at that point.
That seems like a pretty useful. I mean, you were able to see like the danger for that one encounter from that spell too. So it seems pretty useful. And yeah, you didn't use it at all here.
I didn't use it at all.
Yeah, so when we went up there, I was thinking stealth is king, and I assumed he was going to be in the second floor of this place. He said there was a window up there, but I don't know. I didn't want to climb, like making too many dash rolls seems dangerous to me.
You have to climb, and you have to open a window, and then stealth in.
Right. So I was like, just as few as possible.
I wish you'd climbed up the window. That would have been pretty interesting to see how that went.
Yeah, I mean, you get to see the climbing rules.
Yeah, and then once you said there was a keypad or something that I could lock pick, I was like, all right, I have that skill, so let's do that.
Yeah.
I have to use my skills, right?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, open up and fall flat on my face. And, yeah. Yeah, it was. I found that. I guess those things take a while to figure out how you want to go in there because there's so many options. But
Mm-hmm.
other than I guess dead air, it seems really really fun to try to figure out how you want to do it.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't want to rush you guys or anything either. I was hoping you guys would definitely hash it out and figure it out. So
I think that's my biggest fear with this is just nothing's happening for a while we're trying. We're all just like thinking.
Yeah.
And I've watched I've watched
imagine-
role playing stuff like that where the people are all just like thinking for a while, and it's just like okay, and I'm just like skipping ahead.
I've got there's a podcast or not a podcast, YouTube series I really like where they condense like a 3-hour episode of them playing an RPG into a 15-minute episode.
Oh wow!
And all the comments with them are about it are like, listen, guys, you don't want to see the full 3 hours.
Yeah,
There is a lot of dudes just
it's
looking
like a
stuff up
poker
in
tournament.
books. And yeah, there's a lot of looking stuff up in books and
Yeah.
deciding what the rules are going to be in this situation, and like you said, just sitting there thinking about what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I have that house rule of like, if I'm looking up something for too long, then I'm just gonna hand wave it
Yeah.
and come up with it.
Yeah.
Which,
What I think,
I like
what I
that.
think,
yeah.
yeah, me too. What I think we should probably do as a group is do a bit more of the like team huddle. Like
Yeah.
we approach a sort of situation
Yeah.
and we all like just kind of discuss how we want to handle it. Because this one, all 4 of us just sort of walked up to sort of doing our own thing.
Doing your own thing, yeah.
Like, yeah, everyone just sort of like
Which was
walked out
almost
and-
which was almost appropriate because you guys technically barely even knew each other. I mean, you were kind of
Right.
thrown into this together. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah,
yeah. In those situations, it's like when things are happening, we're as people, human beings talking to each other, and then as characters, not being able to do that.
yeah,
And
you're just kind of all going.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I had. It was like I couldn't figure out where I was supposed to eventually like step up and do something,
Right,
or
yeah.
just kind of
Should I do something now? Yeah.
Yeah,
should
I
I'm
think
just gonna wait.
as players we can get better at that. Of just saying, as characters, we can't communicate like we are right now,
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
just should
Because
stop that.
there's a line, because like in this situation we could have all just the 4 of us just as characters talked about what we want to do.
Yes.
Yes.
But I remember at one point during the mission, Eric said, like, "Are you all doing this telepathically?"
Yeah. I think it was during the
how are you
Halloweener
discussing
encounter.
it?
You guys were talking a lot, and I was like, "All right, there's like a dialogue scene going on here,
Yeah.
and you guys are having an aside."
Yeah,
We have like one of those like Zach Morris timeout things.
exactly.
So that way, let's all action just stop.
It's kind of what we were doing.
Wonder
yeah,
Years
it's like-
narration.
That is not a Wonder Years reference.
No, I meant if you could do that too.
There's also the fear too of stepping over another person. Like I don't want to do something if another person was about to like do or was in the middle of doing a contrary thing.
Yeah.
Like if
Well-
Reese was trying to negotiate with the Halloweeners, and I said like I opened the door and shoot a lightning bolt out. I could do that.
You could. I think with all of us, there's like sort of a hesitation and making sure that we're not stepping on anyone's toes. So if the
Yeah.
original person feels struggling enough, I think they would speak up.
And I think that'll improve as you guys
Yes.
get more comfortable with each other and how each other acts.
It's
And
like when Raymond tried to kneecap that one guy.
It's like, wait, hold on.
yeah,
We will stop you.
yeah. And those can give you some funny role playing opportunities too, especially
Yeah.
if Raymond actually does stick to being like a hilariously like aggressive, like not necessarily caring about human life kind of character.
You know, Raymond is like Deadpool. Like the character
Yes.
he's
Raymond
aware
is
that
your
he's a character in
Deadpool.
a story, so he doesn't give a shit about any of the lives that are in there because he's like, yeah, I know I'm a comic book character, so I can
Yeah.
murder anyone. It doesn't matter.
He's a
That's how
hilarious
Raymond's playing
sociopath.
his guy.
Yep. And he's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, I wish he was.
That's true.
So what dissuaded you from the car yard versus like why the front door? You just saw the
'Cause
keypad and knew you had to lock
Reese
it. Yeah.
Oh,
I
the rest of us
honestly, I felt like the car yard was too open.
we did see that drone. I mean,
Yes.
that would have
Yeah.
been a whole deal.
Yeah,
I
that
felt
would
like
have
it
been.
would have been too much, like trying to sneak around cars and trying to figure out when the drone's patrol path is and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yep.
And we didn't know about the troll dog, so that probably could have been
Right.
horribly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, no idea about the security camera inside that. I was about to.
Definitely had a camera pointing at the front door. Yeah.
Which, hindsight is obvious, but
and I actually gave you a chance too because I know you missed that stealth roll, or no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't miss it. You rolled it, and then I rolled the perception of the camera, which was 4 dice and got 3 hits.
Yeah.
there was a lot of that was really
That was the first
frustrating.
one, and then I was like, "Oh shit!" So I gave you the option of doing something, and you like dove, and I had you roll gymnastics, and then that didn't work either. So I was like, "All right, yeah, I gotta trip the alarm now."
Yeah. Which,
That was when roll 20 decided it didn't like us
Yeah.
anymore.
Right.
That's before I
Yeah,
started
there-
fucking up all my rolls.
Yeah, a lot of 4 dice rolls that were just like, here's a 3.
Yeah.
Great.
I spent all my
Okay.
good rolls in that early game with the
Yeah,
roto
exactly.
drones and the camera, and then just like we got to the actual boss.
Which goes to show, just roll the dice, everything will average out eventually.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so when I snuck in there, tripped over myself, fell on the ground, and went prone, Raymond and I guess you were trying to give me like some kind of defensive bonus because I was on the ground.
I think that's what I was looking up a rule for a while. I was trying to figure out what prone meant in terms of an attack and defense roll. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Raymond and I were saying, so I accidentally fall into great cover.
Right. That's exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I think in those situations, if we fail something like that, just some sort of we need to be punished.
Yeah. Well, the punishment was the alarm tripping. I mean, that was the.
Well,
I thought that was a pretty big punishment, but yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, I just felt so bad. Just waltzing in the front door, essentially just falling over, going toe. I was like, well, here goes this massive, like,
I'm
stealthy
glad
opportunity I had set up.
Yeah. I'm glad it wasn't worse, because, I mean, I could imagine a scenario where, like, he's got, like, fucking machine guns in the ceiling and...
Okay, fun fact, if you go back and watch the video, I actually do have a sentry turret set up facing the front door, and it's on Roll20 I can move things to what's called the GM layer, which means only I can see it, and that's how I have things like appear on screen. I could just move it back to the token layer. And I had a sentry turret facing the front door in the GM layer with the idea that if the alarm were to be tripped at the front door, that thing would lower down, in addition to the roto drones coming out. But I realized I was going through my notes, I never wrote down the stats for that stupid gun. So you guys lucked out because I was like furiously looking through there. I was like, shit, I never wrote this thing down. So I just left it there. I was like, I'm not even going to include this here. And then
That's
turns
the
out...
equivalent of the JT, like, not loading the gun, like, the week before. Like,
Yeah.
he just forgot to load it.
Yeah, I just like didn't set everything up correctly, yeah.
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 'Cause I had,
Which
like,
worked out because at the end, Chris and I were both really dazed.
Yeah, and then I was thinking, like, wow,
never
these roto
fucking
drones
healed
are doing
myself.
it.
I kept forgetting.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can kind of heal for free. I think everybody once, right? Like per adventure almost, or
Before
per
we,
rest
before
or
we have to
something.
sleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
rest, yeah. Since this whole encounter, this whole mission was, like, one day.
Yeah, and I, like, wounded all of you guys, like, at the very beginning, too. So I kind of, yeah. I know you guys are going to be hurting from that. But yeah, those roto drones ended up doing a pretty... Because, again, I was rolling like crazy good.
Yeah.
And they had really no defense, so you guys were able to take them down pretty fast, but they had good initiative to where they could get some attacks off.
Which
Yeah.
that left me sweating for the next encounter with JT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we ever look
That-
up what happens if you run out of stun damage? Do you
You
actually
fall
fall?
unconscious.
You do fall. Okay.
You fall unconscious, and any further damage gets
Goes
moved to
physical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like having -2 on my dice rolls is
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, that shit's cumulative. You actually do feel.
there was a ton that Chris and I were missing towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just
Chris is
needed
doing
1 or 2
awful.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the upstairs window, there was no security up there. If you guys could have made it in, that would have been the ideal stealth approach. But you would have had to climb up there, notice that there would be an alarm there, and then have to smash the window because it was. You wouldn't be able to open it from the outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would have had to climb up there, disable the alarm, and smash the window. And if you could do all that,
You want a puppy.
then you would have been able to make it in and have like, and be
And,
on the
like, look
balcony and
down
be able
on
to
them.
see, yeah, everything that was, yeah. So that would have been like the hardest stealth approach would have definitely been the car yard, like you said, trying to make it past the drone, unless Rim would have hacked into it like he did at the very end. And then getting through the garage door would have been a little tricky, but probably doable. But yeah, there were all these entrances, and then you guys made it to... What's funny is, so the problem is, you guys, we had a week between the initial encounter, and then a whole week went by, and then we went back to this adventure.
Oh, right.
And the problem is, you kind of lose that momentum and that, like, urgency of the moment, because literally you guys had just tripped the alarm, although I obviously didn't have, like, klaxons blaring or anything, but in terms of the owners being aware... And then, like, Raymond goes upstairs and starts looting the place. I was like,
Once again.
I'm not going to let you... Yeah, it's not going to start, like, rolling perception to loot up there. I was like, okay, like, shit's going to start happening.
You are still in combat.
And partly I blame the fact that, yeah, we did take a week in between, so you kind of lose that urgency. But, yeah, that alarm was definitely going.
So when that alarm goes off, that's when JT becomes aware.
So, yeah, I'll go ahead and reveal a good chunk of this finale, but he was initially asleep when you guys arrive, because it's like the middle of the night. And the idea was...
You're making Reese feel worse.
I know.
I just fucking, man.
The idea is if you guys can make it through, like, everything stealthily, and then make it to his office, you could actually completely caught him unawares. And then the alarm going off literally just wakes him up, and then he starts... initially he would start, like, maybe jumping into drones and deploying stuff, but you guys are able to take out the drones so quickly. And then... I think you were just kind of walking around out again, and we kind of had that week in between, but like Raymond was looting, and you guys were walking around, so finally I had him react from the drones going down, and I had this plan, whereas if shit was going south, he was just going to try to escape. And then I had, at that point I think, Reese, you were looking out the door, and I had you actually catch him running to the car, yeah.
We both stealthed each other.
Yeah. Look up like this,
We go through pebbles in each other's directions.
Tie, yeah. Yeah, and obviously this scenario, and like I said, you guys could have even come up with him not sleeping. So a lot of these were complete, like, this could happen, or this could happen, or this could happen, the way I'm writing it.
Right.
Like,
So-
he never could have made it to the truck, or all these other things. Or he could have made it to the truck and driven out and escaped. And all these kind of scenarios.
Oh,
That's
could
my
have
big
escaped.
question.
Yes, he could
Yeah.
absolutely have escaped, and that would have changed significantly the next mission you would be on.
Wow. Instead,
And
he almost dies.
That's right. Instead, someone, we won't name names, but someone fucking puts a hole in his chest.
You know, we're
It took
all
him down.
panicking, trying to get this guy to stay. It
Yep,
just-
the one with the military experience just psychs him down.
I almost imagine that, like, the scene is like there's like 2 or 3 of us like yelling at him, like, don't go, we just want to talk. And then she just walks up and just right in the front windshield.
And that was a team effort because
looking up right in the eyes.
Reese
just-
had broken the windshield, the like passenger side window, I think, and that's what gave her a shot like in there.
Right.
I was just gonna shoot at the car. and then he was all like, "Oh, you can shoot him." I was like, "Okay, then."
Okay. Well, whatever. I was gonna do the same thing until someone told me I could aim at the car and not him with my lightning ball.
And that was I was trying to explain things because I know obviously like vehicle combat is not something that's common in D&D, for example. So
Right.
I had to kind of explain how like the barrier system works and yeah, vehicles and all that. It was a little different because that vehicle technically wasn't not moving yet. I know I had a whole bunch of rules set up for things he had to do with that vehicle. Like his initial turn was just opening the garage door. I knew that I was not going to let him be able to fire a weapon and move the car at the same time, since he was like manually driving the car. And his first turn, the garage door opened and he fired the grenade launcher on his first initiative, which obviously that went terribly for
That didn't work.
JT. That was hilarious. The most devastating like boss like fire just completely backfired.
That could have murdered me. He fired it at, like, I think me and Heather were both standing at that
Yeah,
door.
it was like right at the doorway.
He
Yeah.
just fired right in
Well,
between us. I'm
fun
like,
fact.
My character's about to die.
It was in fact loaded with flashbangs,
Oh, okay.
which
So
you
we
guys
wouldn't
didn't know that at
actually
the time, but it would have. But it does like a ton of stun damage basically, so it
Right.
could have knocked you guys out. Obviously, he didn't want to destroy his own place,
Right.
so.
Interesting.
Instead, he ended up with a new hole in his chest.
And then I had
Yeah.
him where he was going to, like, I think roll his pilot groundcraft test, and I was going to let him move him, like, however many squares forward. And basically have him have, you know, it'd take him probably a couple turns to escape the yard, but I was thinking if you guys were just going to keep plinking at the truck, you probably wouldn't have been able to actually reach him before he escaped.
Right.
It was supposed to be pretty, like, once he got in the car, it was supposed to turn into a pretty tricky boss battle that you guys were able to take down in a single pass, I think. I think Raymond was taking down the car too. He probably would have been able to stop it before it escaped, but it would have been more of a photo finish. And if he had reached the yard, he probably would have activated the drones out there as well.
Right.
Because he would have noticed that those, obviously you guys didn't come in that way, so. But since you stopped him when he was still in the garage, you're able to pretty much get him with, maybe not easy, but, uh-oh. I just got dropped. Is it just me?
No, there I went.
Uh-oh.
That was weird.
We're coming
That
back?
was weird.
Everything just,
It's on.
You're muted.
everything freaked out for a second?
Yeah.
Heather was fine. Whoa, now Heather's here twice?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll go away for a second.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
What, you don't want to sit with me?
Roll 20, what are you doing?
So, was there a scenario to where we would be chasing him in a car?
Once he escapes to the road, no, he would have driven off.
We were on foot, so
And
yeah,
you guys did
probably
not have a vehicle, and I would not have let you guys, like, take a car in the yard or anything. At that point, like, once he reaches the yard, he's gone, and he would have escaped. But
So we couldn't have taken Heather's Prius or anything.
I think her car was still at the bar. I think you guys all walked to this location, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a ride from somebody, one of Red's guys.
Yeah. Well, I assume she had originally, when she went to the bar, had taken her car. But yeah, you guys eventually were actually driven around with other people's vehicles, and then finally you walked from that bar to this place.
Yeah.
But yeah, he definitely could have escaped. And I had it, obviously, and you guys still found it because you subdued him another way. I had evidence on the computer. So no matter what happened to JT, you guys would have always been able to technically complete the mission because enough evidence would have been presentable where it's like, yeah, this guy fucking did it.
Right.
At least I was able to save him after I shot him.
That's true.
Yeah, and I forgot that was a possibility. When you guys murdered him, I thought, all right, well, he's dead. And then you guys, like, oh, we can heal him like we did everybody else. Like, oh, yeah, we do have, like, immediate precedent for, like, keeping people alive. Because I think the rule is they have to go negative. I think it's their body attribute. They have that many squares of negative they can go. And then once they go beyond negative body, I think then they are just a corpse.
Yeah.
And when Heather shot him, it was exactly his hit point. So he was at, like, 0 perfectly. So he was, obviously, could have been revived. But I definitely did not let you actually revive him.
Bleeding out, right? Like,
Right, yeah. At that point, they're just like, it's like
Unconscious
XCOM where they're considered like stabilized or like on the ground, but they're technically not like dying, but they're not useful. Which totally was an option.
Right.
So,
And his avenging angel.
a group effort. And then yeah, I think we met up with Red, which I didn't actually have a epilogue scene for that because I mean, there were possibilities that Red could have come there and actually talked to JT. I had all that written out in case he was captured alive. Instead, you guys unceremoniously delivered his body.
Yeah, I feel really bad for you, Eric. You're making
that-
all these like scenarios for
Yeah.
what we might do.
That's kind of what you have to do, though. I mean, either that or I have to like improv everything, which I do have to improv
Right.
some stuff, but I would rather be prepared for all these different scenarios, at least like broad strokes. It's not like I sit there and write like scripts out. I just sit there and see like, okay, if he ends up alive, then this is his motivation and general attitude, and this is the other person, that kind of thing. Like
Right.
instead, I just do as many possibilities as I can and do broad strokes, and then what is useful is if something happens one week and then the next week, for example, like a good example was the fact that you guys tripped the alarm, and then I had a whole week in between where I was like, all right, well, I can eliminate all the stealth shit and just focus on the fact,
Right.
and then I can really like hash out like, okay, well, there's a excellent chance JT is going to make it to the car, and then here's the car rules and all that. So I could actually amend my not my rules, but my like story and my plot line, depending on how you guys did the previous week. So obviously having
It's
an
like
adventure.
we're trying to beat a choose-your-own-adventure author to the end.
Exactly. It's trying to
Madness.
beat him at his own game.
Yeah.
Like those books we read when we were kids. If you want this to happen, flip to page
Exactly.
93.
Yep.
If you want this to happen, flip to page 7.
Turn to page 7. You are dead.
You're yeah, that was how I remember. Most of them were killed you. This is like that, but minus all the killing.
On those books, I always had a series of like dog-earing the pages and bookmarks to where I could always
Yeah.
track back. Like, all right, I died from here. Let's go back to
It's
this
like you're
save
saving
point.
your game, yeah. Save my state here. Yeah, and so I also had to learn a lot about drones and how all that worked. So I was like, damn it, my first adventure, and I'm already having to do like vehicle combat and rigger
Right,
rules and
yeah, you
drone
do
shit.
Most of the
Man, I can't. Which I was sort of hoping that we'd have some large class gap, and we don't have a rigger at all in our group.
right.
I thought.
Yeah.
I think that's neat. We just have like this gaping weakness.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think there is some overlap with the Decker,
Yeah.
but yeah, in terms of having a hardware expert, especially, you guys actually don't technically have that.
Yeah.
I think some of you might have some of those skills, but yeah, you can't cover everything with 4, I guess. And then yeah, so the whole point of this, my initial point was for you guys to have a they call it a fixer, which is kind of like your guy that gets you jobs in the Shadowrun world, which in
Right.
this case was Red, and you got to completely like do a mission with him and protect him and basically endear yourself or indebt yourself to him and his organization and kind of prove yourself to where he's like, all right, now I definitely want to get you guys jobs and things.
I'll tell you though, when I let it go because I'm like, you know what, we were almost done with the evening too. I was like, I don't want to start something. But when your guy said that he was he was a drug dealer, I was like, my character might have problems with that. But I was like, you know what, it's like we were already like at time, and I was like, I don't want to start shit now.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still a gang. Like, there's,
Right.
They're
You're not
definitely gonna-
that committed to your characters.
they definitely have to fund themselves somehow.
Yeah.
Very few people in this world, their hands are clean, I'll tell you that.
Right.
It's a very dark dystopian world. And yeah, that was pretty much the end of the adventure. I think we got Red as a contact and kind of as a main like mission. You guys had worked together. Now presumably you know each other. I guess you still all live on your own places and your own individual lifestyles. If down the road you guys wanted to like create your own like Avengers Tower or something, you could probably do that with some more funds.
Yeah. You get all that money, Heather. Why don't you become our Tony Stark and like fund us?
Oh, so I'm
we
supposed to
should
be
do an
sugar
RV.
mama here.
That's right. Yeah, we should get an RV and travel the countryside. Solve the adventure.
So, fun fact, you guys ended up with JT's car at the end,
We did.
which I had not foreseen as a possibility like I did the dog wagon vehicle. I was like, oh shit, yeah, they subdued him and now they've got this car.
We drove to Red in that car, right?
Yes,
From the
you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a truck, and I don't even think I wrote down like how many seats it has, but I presume it's like kind of like 3 in the front and then just the bed in the back. I mean, it is a truck,
Right.
and it looks a bit of like a Mad Max truck. Like it had the grenade launcher mounted in the back. That's now
It
gone.
did.
I think it does have a machine gun turret like on top of it too.
Nice.
That could be fun.
And so, just for my identification, both Heather and Raymond can drive, right? Reese, you can't drive.
In terms of the actual skill.
Okay. The actual skill, yeah.
Raymond, I don't think has the actual skill, but
Oh.
his stat that uses it is
But he'll try anyway.
yeah. The way he did his
What's
character
up?
sheet is he wrote down every skill, and obviously
Yeah.
half of them have negative
So-
ones.
So he's
So,
not looking at what he can.
He's not
and
looking
can't
at what he
do.
has. He has all the possibilities.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, because his link stat is so
To us,
high,
though, like, wait, I can do that better than you. Hold
yeah.
up.
his like logic or whatever, or intuition or something is so high to where his -1 is still gives him a decent enough like dice roll. It's like
Okay,
excuse
gotcha.
me, maybe like a 4 or something. But yeah, none of you are exceptionally good drivers.
But yeah, so Heather is.
Probably 1 point would be plenty.
It might.
Well, now
if
we know
you
better.
if you roll like I do and get 3 hits on 4 dice, it's plenty.
Just roll better.
Yeah. I did think you guys used
that's one of the
edge.
things that I. Or sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think you guys use edge very well for like a lot of situations
I got
that
reminded every time I use.
that really needed it. Yeah, for like really crucial stuff, you guys could use some. Which I forget how many you guys even have to use, but I don't think any of you have more than like maybe 2 or 3 per adventure.
Yeah, I've got 2.
Which, by the way, for the most part, unless I say something different, between every mission we do, so like right now, you guys can refill your edge to max, and also completely heal yourselves because
Oh, I should do that.
there's going to be at least several days between this adventure and the next one. I'll tell you that. So that's plenty of time to be at max health and edge wise, and do your edge like Chris was saying, where because the boxes don't
doesn't
work,
work.
the check marks don't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, do your current edge / and then max edge.
No, that doesn't work.
Oh, you can't
It
have 2
deletes
numbers.
it.
Oh shit.
No. It
Well,
puts 0 there. Or
How do you guys
erases
want to
it.
do it then?
I have no idea.
ID in my style.
There you
Okay.
go.
Just yeah,
box
that's better.
arrows.
Box to put, yeah.
Okay,
It's easy to remember for me though.
Yeah.
just the one.
I'm gonna
I either got it or I don't.
Yeah.
You have 1 point?
Yeah.
F3.
Oh wow. Okay. That does seem pretty useful. I mean, there's a lot of situations where, and I think you actually used edge on that last shot, Heather. That actually took him down. I think. I know Chris used it to like survive that shotgun blast. Like it a lot.
Get cut in half.
A
by
lot of
fucking
critical.
shotgun.
Yeah, it was a lot of critical
I don't think I
edge
did.
uses. Really?
I remember using it.
Or I think it was against a drone.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
I know
yeah.
one shot was
Shot
against.
the
Yeah.
drone,
Yeah. I only shot that one guy once. It was enough.
So yeah, drones are almost like, or edge is almost like a per rest ability. It's like you can use, like whatever your different edge abilities are, you can use that per rest, which rest is usually per adventure, although there might be some situations where in the middle of adventure, you know, you guys could like wait a day or something, but for the most part, I would think things are going to happen within the same day, and it's generally designed to be like a between adventure they can refill kind of thing. Or if you guys do something really cool roleplay wise that I like, then I can reward
Chris.
edge as well.
What did I do? I forgot what I did now. Oh, that's right. I asked Red not to kill the dude.
Yeah, in like a very like long speech too. It was kind of impressive. And again, and that had nothing to do with anything really. Like I mean, well, yeah, it kind
I'll
of
be
will actually,
upset.
but
My character will be upset
Yeah.
if they murdered him.
okay. Follow up on that. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. But in terms of the current story, then it didn't
Right.
matter in terms
Didn't
of
affect
it
anything,
didn't
yeah.
affect it, right? Yeah, in terms of that adventure. But I like that you did that. So. Yeah. So yeah, what do you think of the first like lengthwise, scenes-wise, difficulty-wise, combat encounters, variety of scenes, like?
I thought difficulty-wise, it was good. Now I'm just completely afraid of being hit by drones.
Yep.
It seems like combat is shorter and more lethal than D&D. Because I feel like
Right.
D&D, you're just swinging at each other and missing a lot. That's like most of the time. Whereas Shadowrun, you seem to be hitting each other more often, and when you hit, you don't roll for damage, really. You're doing like your max damage every time.
Yeah.
And then you're just trying to absorb some damage. So it seems like it is shorter and more brutal. Just from the
Yeah,
brief combat
exactly.
encounters we've had.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but-
I like the amount of story and the amount of combat in that first scenario.
Okay. So would it have been too
Yeah,
much
it was good.
combat if we had done the Halloweeners thing too, or?
No,
So I consider that kind of combat. Like, even though we didn't fight them,
Right,
I consider
yeah,
that
okay.
like a combat
I mean, because that could have been
scenario.
like a super long like combat encounter with like several dudes.
Right.
which is fine because I mean, honestly, that would have been our second one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was
Which means we only really had 2 combat encounters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, 3 if you count the drones and JT being 2 separate ones, and technically you had some downtime between.
Oh,
but
right. There
in
was
terms of,
a-
it was almost back to back, yeah.
Which, session-wise, that was really, really well timed, because that meant we almost... Or does that mean we did have a combat every session? It was 3 sessions, right?
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah. So it was... The first one was the ambulance. The second one...
The second one would have started
Yeah.
with the Halloweeners, but you guys talked your way out of it, and
And
then
then
ended
it
up
was the
ending
drones
with the
coming in.
drones, yeah.
And then
And
the
it-
third one was JT himself.
Yeah, which was like half that session, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
from
if
now
that,
on,
I
if you
don't know.
do 1 combat session per
Yes,
session, that'd
I'll
be
try
great.
to...
Right. If you can figure that out.
That's the hardest thing, is I don't know how far... And, like, I thought you guys got a lot farther on the second session because you skipped the Halloweener fight.
Right.
And I didn't realize that until we all of a sudden arrived at JT's. I was like, oh, shit. Like, I was thinking this was going to be... Which I guess I could have just called in and said, like, okay, let's do a stopping point here. I was prepared to go that far, but it was... It's a lot for me because just all the notes I have to keep track of and everything else. I'm like, okay, now I have to... And I know I missed, like, describing, like, the inside until, like, later and those kind of things because there's just a lot to try to keep up with at once.
Right.
Yeah. This is the life I chose.
Is
So
there
it-
any... Go ahead, Chris.
I was just saying, so it could have been 4 sessions, I imagine, if we had actually fought the Halloweeners. So if we had fought the Halloweeners,
That probably would have taken a while.
that would have taken a
There were a
while.
lot of
It
them.
sounds like it, yeah. And what's awkward is I don't know if it would end up 4 sessions. I think that 4th one would be super truncated. And it depends on this last level too. If you guys had
That's
gone through
true.
the car yard and had to fight the drones out here, like this could have been a much longer session too. So
Yeah.
because of the choices I give you guys, and obviously just the open-ended nature of a role-playing game in general, yeah, I really don't know how far you guys are gonna make it through. And that's why I had this entire adventure written out like at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because obviously I need to know what's going to happen and where we're going. But filling in the details along the way helps week to week, because then I can be like, okay, well they did this, so now I can do this in this week.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like there's just as much strategy between combat versus not combat.
Yeah.
in the world.
In this game, absolutely. Yeah, it feels like
Yeah.
you can come at an unarmed building. I think that you know is not going to be combat. You can come at it from a few different ways, and it feels like there will be different results depending on how you come at it.
Yeah, and experience is not rewarded for killing guys at all. It's just, however, I want to reward you at the end in terms of the karma rewards. And usually that's going to be entirely, like, event-based. Like, if you guys did it this way, if you guys did it this way. And what I'd like to do, and I kind of did this here, is if, like, you get more karma for doing a thing, like, the hardest way, which would have been, in this case,
Going through the window.
just getting JT alive, capturing him alive. That would have rewarded
Right.
1 more point of karma.
Technically, he was alive.
If you were able to, like, yeah, capture him and interrogate him and all that kind of stuff, then that would have been, like, technically the ideal scenario for
The
like,
stealth
getting the
route.
information. Yeah, which also would have been the hardest thing to do. So, but I definitely want to dish out a reward no matter what, just because you guys are still making it through the adventure. So,
So I imagine then we probably get more for. Well, I don't know.
so there, in
More
other words,
for
there's
talking your way out
there's
of the
always
Halloweener thing
there's
as
always a
opposed to fighting?
range. Yeah, there's always a range of karma for like every event that I have written down, and it's like if you do it this way, you'll get this much karma. If you do it this way, you get this much karma. To where at the end of the adventure, I have like a minimum karma. To where even if you guys just go in guns blazing everything and just don't really care,
Yeah.
you'll at least get this much just for completing the adventure. But if you do things really cool and tactically and think things through and all this kind of stuff, you could get like this much karma. So the experience level is going to vary
Right.
each adventure. And loot-wise, it's kind of weird with Shadowrun. It's not like you guys find magic swords or anything. It's, you just kind of... It's kind of all just money. There's a few cool... I mean, I wanted to give you guys some rewards. Like, for the last mission, I kind of had to nudge you guys. You could now loot the place after you had taken JT down. Because I actually did have
So
a few things that you could find.
Yeah. This question doesn't matter as much with the character I'm playing now, but when we were playing Pathfinder, I know this was a question that Ronnie just wouldn't let me answer. So, at least with that character, I was like, okay, I take the clothes off him and I sell those later. I take, the little whatever nonsense necklace he's wearing. I take that. I try to con a shopkeeper later for money. Tell him it's enchanted or whatever. And Ryan just wouldn't let me do any of that. But in this world, it doesn't really matter for my character once again. But could we have go back to JT's and just loot it for just take the cars and try to sell them to people and shit like that?
Way to ask a difficult question.
Yeah, I mean, part of this is an open-ended area of role-playing that I'm not totally comfortable with, and it's very esoteric. It's like we want to go on the town and go to a club, and that kind of role-playing can be interesting in some situations, but for the most part, I like to build maps and have you guys go on adventures.
Right.
In terms in terms of looting stuff,
I don't know. I feel like in that situation, JT was Red's man, part of his gang, and that would just be
yeah, you did pick up on that, right?
At photographic memory, you have to tell us these things that you already told.
What was that?
You said you did pick up on that.
Oh, yes.
One of my skills is photographic memory, so if it's something he's already told us, and he's like, I don't know, did I tell you all that? He has to tell us because I have to.
Also remembering
there you
things.
go.
Yeah, so I feel like that would have been just stealing from Red a little bit.
Yeah, what Red
Which
doesn't
in
know.
that scenario, you could have said that to
Yeah.
If Peregrine was here now.
We all miss Peregrine.
We almost buried.
Yep.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for looting bodies and stuff because I think most of the people you didn't kill. Although you did get that one shotgun off the one dude, the fake medics. I think you did end up killing them.
For example, what I wanted to do at the end of that mission, and I was like, why isn't Raymond doing this? But I was like, he's not a rigger, so it's not really that much of a big deal. I'm like, why aren't we loading up these idle drones? Why aren't we just loading them up and just taking them for ourselves? We've now got 3 drones. I don't know how much that is allowed. I don't know, that kind of stuff. I don't really know.
I know one of the things of GMing is that only throw things at your players that you're comfortable with them taking. If you give your big bad guy a big giant awesome sword, prepare for that sword to eventually fall into the player's hands unless you have some bullshit way of getting rid of it. It could have been a possibility, yeah. You guys, like I said, being Shadowrunners is different from being D&D adventurers a little bit. To an extent, yeah, you can take stuff and try to steal it. Drones would have been a little unwieldy, although you did have the truck, so I guess you could have loaded them on there. I probably would have put something in there about trying to lift them up and put them in the truck while other gang members might be approaching and that kind of thing. Put a sense of urgency in there, and maybe you could make it off with one. I do have a rule about selling, which I kind of want to use typical RPG stuff, which is you can't sell stuff at what it's worth because you're selling everything secondhand. Obviously, just stuff you found. You have to go to basically pawn shops and fences and stuff to be able to sell. You don't have a receipt for these things that you're trying to sell for the most part. So
no receipt, no return.
My house rule is you can sell. I'll just let you, without having to hunt somebody down or some bullshit, you can just sell pretty much anything for 50% of its purchase cost. And then
that makes sense, yeah.
You can roll a negotiation test, and then for every net hit you roll, I'll give you another 10% of the total purchase cost of that item.
That's interesting, okay.
So if you
Once
roll...
again, now I'm wishing I was a character who would do that.
Yeah.
But I'm not, so
So potentially I could get over 100%.
Yes, exactly. If you're a really good negotiator, which I think is cool. You could be like, yeah, this is a fucking magic shotgun that I got off this magic dude that fires rainbows.
So many 4s.
All the 4s. So yeah, the looting and selling somewhat can come into play. Certainly, obviously, have all the enemies are technically itemized in terms of what they have on them. But realistically, you guys aren't hauling around giant, hikers' backpacks for the most part. You guys are kind of dressed for most of you, I'd imagine, are dressed for kind of actual stealthy missions most of the time. You guys are
Right.
probably, you've got stuff, but you're like leaving it in the trunk of your car, kind of a thing, and you're like strapping whatever things you need for like that mission. So looting a bunch of stuff isn't too feasible, although obviously you can take some things. But like,
Go to this truck now. Maybe we can
Yeah.
load stuff in the back of the truck.
Do you need a home?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. We've got this truck now. Where do we park this truck? Does anybody have a home that they could take this truck to?
I do.
We're just parking it on the street with drones in the back and shit like that. And
Park
everyone
on the
else-
street, or I'm squatting for the night.
Exactly. We'll park it on the street and I'll sleep in the beds. That way nobody will grab anything.
none of you are gonna invite the troll in. You just get to sleep on the bed.
Gonna slit your throat while you sleep.
Yep.
I can't imagine it's going to be very comfortable because that truck was technically has been like modified for a dwarf to drive. So good luck you trying to like. You could probably sleep in the bed, but I don't even know if you'll be able to sleep in the friggin' cab of it or sit in the cab without some
Yeah.
adjustments. So I will allow you guys collectively to pay 1,000 new yen to basically wipe that truck's like ownership and everything tags off of it.
Yeah, Sugar Mama's got it. I'll do it.
Yeah. Tony Stark
All right.
funding the Avengers.
Yep. I'm building my smart tower.
I know that's something like the Penny Arcade guys did. Is they eventually like made their own like company for their adventuring and like had their own
Nice.
like building and stuff. Which
Their own
you guys
franchises.
yeah, their Adventure Incorporated, whatever it was. But yeah, you guys are still kind of at the street runner level, though. Now you're gonna start working your way up from that.
Do we get any new street cred?
Street cred, I believe, is tied to your karma, so it goes up every 10 karma you get. And I think you guys are at 19 karma, so technically you're still at 1.
Still at one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think street cred actually has a mechanical thing. I think during some social tests, which yeah, Reese should know this. I think you get to add that. I think it acts as a positive modifier if like the reputation of your characters would come into play. Like if you're trying to like intimidate somebody or say like, do you know who we are? Then you could like add your street cred or something. I'd have to look up the rule, but I think there is like a game mechanical bonus to having higher street cred. And some of the adventures, and I thought it was only tied to your karma, but some of the adventures, the pre-generated adventures I've been reading, they actually have awarding just street cred as possible awards. So
Wow.
I guess possibly your street cred could be just whatever number.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm going to keep it as your karma divided by 10. Is that right? Karma divided by 10, yeah.
Just like initiative,
Yep.
sort of.
So, yeah, anything else about that adventure before we move on to, I guess, character advancement stuff?
So Heather, you are paying to get that truck wiped, and you are parking it at your residence. Is that what's
He needs to
happening?
know where his home is going.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, it would be
Okay.
the parking lot of my condo community.
Because I wasn't really joking about sleeping in the bed.
You need to get one of those little covers that you can put on the truck, like over the bed.
There you go.
Like,
Can I squat in your basement?
they already
Are you
need the Avengers Mansion.
both homeless?
Yeah, I am.
There's a reason they're
Absolutely.
taking on these jobs.
Yeah.
I'm a squatter, so whatever I can break into. And
So
sleep.
technically, he doesn't have a
Whatever.
home.
Whatever derelict building you can find.
Yeah, I'm one step up from homeless.
You can sleep in the truck with me.
You guys desperately need a place.
I'll find my own place. That's fine. I don't want to sleep with that
I
fool.
actually really do need an apartment or something like that because there's a whole like mechanic to having a mechanical what do you call it? Not a mechanical magical lodge, having a place for you to like
Meditate and shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Your truck is gonna be like your Zen place. It's like raining outside. And you're like, you get your little
Junkyard magic.
get your yoga mat out there.
Yep. Yep.
Namaste.
Exactly.
All right. So yeah, that was the Not with a Whimper adventure. Which took us 3 full sessions, I think, of like 2.5 hours each. And that was probably one of the shorter paths it could have been, since you guys skipped one whole encounter and pretty much brute forced through the final one and kind of skipped maybe about half of that. And obviously, like Stealth Approach, I think would have taken a pretty lengthy thing anyway, so it felt like it took 3 full sessions, and that was like the shorter path, so it could have probably maybe even taken 4 full sessions to do it.
Yeah, I felt like that last section was a ton of build up, and then just bang, 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 it's over.
Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of the way it ended up.
Just wait in there.
Really, it was just one bang, but
Yes.
So how'd you guys feel about the length in terms of like the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, or the overall, like, how long it lasted?
It was fine. I don't know. I sort of feel like as I don't know, as long as we're doing something each session, it's fine. It like not being able to level up, like having levels and stuff like that is still, I guess I'm still getting used to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, to echo that, I would say that if we did do one that was like twice as long as this one or something like that, I would say we might want to do some sort of karma advancement mid-adventure
Okay.
or something like that. Because yeah, it is kind of weird. Like you don't get any experience until the very end.
well, if we can. 'cause
Well, that's
a
how
lot of
D&D works too. I mean,
a lot of
That's
karma
true.
stuff takes a while to take effect.
Yeah,
yeah.
You know.
that's true. That's
I
true.
mean, the way I would do it is if some adventures naturally like bled into another mission, I would still probably count that as like this was this mission and now we're starting a new mission. Even if this mission technically started like hours later, I could still end this mission and reward karma and money. And then if it did immediately start hours later, you might not be able to fully rest or anything, but at least I could reward stuff. So I would still like to do all the rewarding things after the mission, but I don't think the missions themselves would get much longer than this, because I would still break them up. Like I said, I mean, they would still be kind of like TV show episodes. They'd still all be kind of short. Even if it's like set up like a part 1, part 2, like a TV show, then I would still end it like, okay, that's the end of this, like part 1 of this longer mission, and then we're going to reward stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you're saying, is if it ends up being a long thing, but in my head, they'll definitely be broken down into like everyone is going to be 4 to 6 scenes long, for example. This one was technically 5 scenes long, which scene 1 was just you guys in the bar and the bomb goes off, and you guys are like healing people, and then scene 2 was inside the dock wagon vehicle. Scene 3 was the street with the Halloweeners, which is obviously ended up being a pretty quick scene.
Right.
Scene 4 was return to the bombed bar, and you guys were investigating. And then scene 5 was JT's.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's how I set that one up.
Yeah, I like the length a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
It felt good.
I'm gonna have to get used to the character advancement because I was just reading like time-wise, even to learn a spell, it's like days.
Yeah.
Like I have to like meditate for days to learn a spell.
Yeah, I need to figure out the time frame. I will go ahead and turn this episode off, since we can just kind of end we just did our whole recap thing. Unless you guys have any other closing thoughts on the first mission, and then we can just talk about the character advance, because that'll involve like looking up in books and stuff like that. So it'll be less entertaining from a video capturing point of view. So I'll go ahead and end this session. But yeah, I thought this was a really useful thing to have, this kind of little epilogue episode, being able to just talk about how the mission worked, give some feedback, what worked, what didn't work, and then just give me another kind of week in between writing missions, because I am still next week now going to be also writing a mission entirely from scratch based on the events of this one. So eventually I do plan on using a few pre-generated missions, especially if I have like less time, but most of them involve you guys being more plugged into the Shadowrunning thing, and I feel like we're still like working our way up to that. So anyway, thank you for Chris, Heather, and Reese for joining me. I am Eric Watson. This is our Shadowrun live streamed adventures on Roll20 at twitch.tv/gorbash722. We do this every Sunday evening at 9:30 p.m. Central Time, and we will be back again next week with our next adventure. of Shadowrun. We're out.